All right. Well, welcome back to the Stickboys episode here, December Whitetails,
That's right.
and
That's right.
I'm the co-host Nathan Killen, and we have Dalton Lewis and Ethan Roderick on here. So
We thought we would do an episode on December whitetails because this is
Praise
kind
the
of,
Lord, because they kicked my hind end.
I know, man. Gosh,
It's December whitetail hunting is rough in the mountains. I don't care what anybody says, it's tough.
well, but what's your thoughts on December whitetail hunting, Nathan? Let's just get that out of the way.
well, I like it. I mean, if you're into them, you're into them, and if you're not, then it's like a desert. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
So it can be really good or it can be really bad. I don't know. I can remember. I used to think that aliens abducted them or something other because they were just seemed like they were just gone.
Yeah.
But just looking in the wrong places and stuff. So, but just it just requires a lot of effort to find them sometimes. But
Yeah.
whenever you do, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah. So I guess the golden question is how do you find them? And I'll preface that with this. So obviously this time of year, there's still some does that may be coming in the quote unquote second rut. There's still some bucks that have it on their mind, but for the most part, everything is starting to really evolve back towards food sources. Where I'm at and where you're at, there are all the areas basically big timbered ridges. The food is really, really spread out, and there's just a tiny little bit of food everywhere. So it's really, really hard to find them. So how do you go out? How do you set out to find the deer in December?
Just a lot of boots on the ground scouting. And I tell you, we really need some snow. If we had some snow, that would make that job a lot easier, because right now, of course, it's been dry up until here recently, and the deer just wasn't laying down very much sign. But now, this past weekend, whenever I was in the woods, I did notice that you could see some feeding sign, where they're still feeding on acorns right now. And so, just a lot of scouting, looking for, feeding sign. I know in my area, we had a decent crop of acorns, but they're not really widespread. So that's going to concentrate the deer some. And, but of course, on years that we don't have acorns, then, they're concentrated on grassy type areas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if the deer have access to it, but now some places back in these mountains, there's just no grassy type areas or anything like that anywhere close by. So then the deer are, they're feeding on, lichen, browse, and it seems like whenever they're feeding on like rhododendron, the little shoots in between the leaves and stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever it gets that bad, it's pretty bad. So
yeah, or ferns. I think they like ferns too.
Yesterday, I watched 3 different groups of deer, and the first group was eating. I guess they logged an area, and what was down, they were eating the moss off of the down trees, like off of the tree trunks. Now, what I found funny was these trees had been cut within like 72 hours. Like this wasn't even cut like 3 weeks ago. This was cut hours before. They were already on those. It looked like they were eating the bark is what it looked like. But I guess it was that growth on those actual tree trunks. And they ate that. And then I went to another place and I actually got permission to hunt 2 different properties this weekend, oddly enough. And the smaller of the 2, I went in there scouting it, and you could see the browse line. And the lady that owns the property said, yeah, they've started in on my rhodos already this year, which I thought was pretty surprising this early, because there's grass around there. There's tree fields, 600 yards down the hill, but I guess they're just not making it there until later, after dark. But there were, you could see, and I watched them. I watched a doe and a fawn, and they were eating that exactly what you're saying. The ends of the rhodos is what they were going for. But yeah, like you say, it's bad when they're getting because I feel like there's a lot of things in the woods that they would rather eat than rhodo. But I guess when you got to eat, you got to eat.
Yeah, I've noticed too, like in the mountains and stuff, anywhere that you have like these little wet springs and stuff, and you still have some greenery in those type of areas, they'll eat that greenery in there. Matter of fact, I find sheds in those type of places too, because like years that we have a bit of snow, and that those are usually the places where the snow starts to melt first, and it'll reveal some of that greenery, and sometimes you'll find an antler laying there.
Yeah. Well, one thing I got to throw in that Alan told me, and it's one of those deals like, and I know y'all have had this exact same thing. When Alan says things, sometimes it's just like,
yeah.
And he said that. He said, you need to go watch the snow melt. And I'm like, what? You know, and he said, no, you need to watch the snow melt. He said, because where that snow's melting first, he said, you're going to have a lot of rising thermals when you're hunting. He said, because that's where it's warming up the fastest. He said, and where that snow sits for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, sometimes longer, he said, you're not getting any sun, which means everything's going to be sinking. And that, when he said that, and I was like, huh. He said, the main thing you need to think about with that is access. And I was like, you're just like compounding my thing here. And he said, because everything's going to be sinking. So if you're coming in from there, you should be in good shape. And I was like, holy crap, who thinks about that? But I got a question. So yesterday, I'm hunting a couple different areas, but right now pretty hard. But what kind of food, if you lost your acorns, what are you looking for food wise? Can you find anything, or are you going more to bedding than you are? Because what I'm running into, our acorns are gone. Like, they've been vacuumed up. We got a ton of deer, and they're just gone. And we had a pretty good crop of acorns. So what is there was gone. And like I said, they're eating rhodo, they're eating bark on trees, but I'm having a hard time pinning anything specific, if that makes any sense at all. So in that situation, would you bounce more to try to figure out bedding, or what would you do there?
Well, bedding is definitely going to be more at a premium this time of year, because all the leaves are gone, and but in our area we have plenty of rhododendron and mountain laurel, so I guess it would just depend on the area. But I would be concentrating on grass, because I can tell you from experience that if the acorns are gone, then shed hunting and stuff, you might as well almost forget about looking for them in the mountains. You're going to have to find grass if you're going to find any antlers. And so that's what I would be looking for. And that's kind of, some of the areas that I hunt in the mountains are backed up behind agriculture. And whenever I say agriculture, we don't have true agriculture like you do out in the Midwest. It's just, farm fields, it's got grass or rye or something like that. But anyhow, that's the type of areas that I start snuggling up against, and generally you can always find the deer then, there's going to be some pretty good cut trails going into those type of places. So, but, and I wished in our areas that, I don't know how it is in North Carolina, but I know here in Virginia, that there's very, very little timber harvest going on anymore. If we had more of that, that would help out that situation a lot.
Tremendously.